Hey there, beautiful storytellers and curious hearts, welcome to the Velvet Story, where imagination gets a little wild, a little romantic, and a whole lot unpredictable. Today's tale is unlike anything you've heard before. Imagine this: you're a writer wrapping up your novel when suddenly, your villain walks out of the story, scarf fluttering, demanding a better ending and maybe even a date. What follows is thunder, tea, mischief, marmalade, and a love story that literally writes itself. So grab your favorite drink, snuggle into your comfiest blanket, and let us dive into a story where fiction breaks the fourth wall and hearts just a little. Welcome to Plot Twist, Love, Thunder and Marmalade. Let the chaos begin. The storm came in fast, the kind of cinematic downpour that rattled window panes and inspired either great writing or great panic. For Elliot Finch, it was both. Thunder crashed like punctuation marks to his frantic typing, lightning illuminating the cluttered corners of his study, and his mind raced to wrap up the final chapter of his crime novel. The end. He typed the words with a triumphant sigh, slumping back in his chair. Elliot had never been one for celebration, but finishing a manuscript always left him buzzing. He reached for his now cold mug of coffee, muttering, "If only life were as easy to plot as a book." Outside, the wind howled. Inside, it was supposed to be calm. Safe. Predictable. It wasn't he. From between the rows of overflowing bookcases, a figure emerged. Papers fluttered in the breeze of his entrance, and the scent of aged paper and something unplaceably spicy filled the air. Elliot turned, expecting his cat, maybe a fallen book. Instead, he came face to face with a man who should have existed only in print. Vincent Malice. Crimson scarf. Impeccable tailoring. Eyes like storm clouds and a posture dripping with both disdain and flair. He smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. Well, Elliot," he drawled, taking in the disheveled study with a raised brow. "Thought you could just tie my story up and move on, how? Predictable." Elliot blinked. You're not real. You can't be. You're just my villain scapegoat, your misunderstood genius." Perhaps Vincent stepped closer, the click of his boots unnervingly theatrical. "I assure you, I'm quite real. Real enough to be offended by that marmalade death of yours." It was metaphorical. It was humiliating, Vincent replied, with the injured pride of a Broadway actor whose monologue had been cut. "Do you know what it's like to drown in fruit preserves?" Elliot backed up, bumping into his desk. "How are you here? This doesn't make any sense." Vincent gave him a sly smile. "Plot holes. You're riddled with them." The writer tripped over a stack of paperbacks, landing hard. Vincent sighed dramatically and offered a hand. "Relax. I'm not here for vengeance. Not the boring kind, anyway. I propose a deal." "A deal?" "Yes. You write me a better ending, and I don't haunt your Wi-Fi password for eternity." Elliot squinted. "And if I refuse? I rewrite your online dating profile to say you collect toenail clippings." There was a long silence, broken only by the distant roll of thunder. "Okay," Elliot said, pulling himself up. "You want a better ending? What, like a redemption arc?" Vincent scoffed. "Redemption is so passé. No, I want romance. Depth. A wardrobe montage. Something worthy of my potential." Elliot hesitated, then opened his laptop. "You want romance? What about Margot?" Vincent paused, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "Margot? You know. The sassy librarian from Chapter 12. She did insult my metaphor usage." I liked that. Elliot typed a few lines. There was a shimmer in the air, like heat off pavement. And then Margot appeared. Hair in a messy bun, glasses perched on her nose, holding a steaming mug of tea as if she'd simply walked out of a break room. She looked around, unimpressed. What the hell is this? Vincent stood. Welcome to the plot twist, my dear. Margot raised an eyebrow. Oh no. I remember you. The melodramatic villain who tried to burn down the library because they misfiled your memoir. It was a first edition, Vincent said, deeply wounded. Elliot watched, fascinated, as the two bickered. Margot, sharp-tongued and poised. Vincent, charming and exasperating. They circled each other like well-matched chess players. So you've brought me here for what she asked finally. A character intervention. Love, Vincent said. Or at least a compelling subplot. She sipped her tea. I don't date narcissists. Excellent. I'm reformed, he said, bowing. Their banter became the new background noise of Elliot's writing sessions. Margot corrected Vincent's grammar mid-sentence. Vincent wrote her love letters disguised as overdue book notices. Elliot documented everything, transforming his crime novel into a romantic comedy fantasy hybrid. As days passed, Vincent and Margot's chemistry became undeniable. They debated poetry, danced to 1940s jazz, and reenacted dramatic library confrontations for fun. Vincent even got a job sort of. He opened a pop-up bookstore called Villains and Volumes. Margot ran the reading list. Elliot's publisher called to say his manuscript had evolved into something wildly original. Fans began clamoring for more of Vincent and Margot. Cosplayers recreated scenes. Someone knitted a crimson scarf with Margot's sarcastic marginalia embroidered on it. Elliot, meanwhile, found himself smiling more. Laughing. Living. He went on a date. It was awkward. But real. One evening, as the three of them sat drinking tea, Vincent leaned back and sighed. You know, I used to want to burn this world down. Now I just want to renovate it. Add more velvet. Margot rested her head on his shoulder. You're still a bit much. I'm delightful. Elliot looked at them, his villain, his creation, his CO authors, and felt something shift. Maybe stories didn't end. Maybe they just changed genres. Vincent raised his teacup. To plot twists. Margot raised hers. To rewrites. Elliot raised his coffee. To the best mistakes I've ever made. And somewhere between fiction and reality, a story continued writing itself. End of Part 1. Part 2, The Rewrite Strikes Back. It began, as many catastrophes do, with an accidental keystroke. Elliot was fiddling with a side character concept while Vincent and Margot debated whether or not cheese metaphors had any place in romantic dialogue. Vincent insisted yes, Margot vehemently disagreed. In the process, Elliot's fingers slipped and hit a peculiar combination of keys. The screen shimmered again. Oh no, he whispered. A deep, gravelly voice rang out, slow and ominous. I am Bronte Steele. A hulking figure materialized in the middle of the room. Black leather jacket. Brooding stare. A face that looked carved from granite and a dramatic wind that followed him everywhere, blowing his coat unnecessarily. Vincent narrowed his eyes. You created another brooding antihero. He was meant for a different project, Elliot said meekly. Margot gave Bronte a critical once-over. Let me guess. Tragic backstory, secret talent for piano talks in sentence fragments. Yes, Bronte said, staring at the wall as if it had betrayed him. Vincent groaned. This place is turning into a support group for emotionally constipated literary constructs. Elliot scrambled to regain control. He was supposed to be the lead in a noir thriller romance called Love Bleeds in Monochrome. Margot snorted. Wow! Did you write that title in high school? Bronte turned slowly to Elliot. Where? Island. Veronica. Blaze. Oh God, Elliot whispered. Not her too. Too late. In a burst of perfume and stilettos, Veronica Blaze landed on the carpet in full femme fatale glory. I heard someone whisper my name in longing, she purred. Vincent face-palmed. This is getting out of hand. Correction, Margot said. This is becoming a sitcom. What followed was a chaotic week of unintended plot mashups. Bronte brooded in corners, composing noir haikus. Veronica flirted with both Vincent and Elliot, causing awkward moments at the breakfast table. Vincent declared dramatic monologue battles with Bronte. Margot began documenting it all in a journal titled The Fictional Roommates Chronicles, Volume 1. Yet somehow, it worked. Elliot found himself flooded with new ideas. Every quirky conflict, every impromptu debate over villain ethics or whether Veronica should get a pet iguana became inspiration. His home, once silent and sterile, was now alive with narrative mayhem. Still, the line between fiction and reality continued to blur. One night, Elliot woke up to find his house rearranged into a vintage 1920s speakeasy by Bronte. Margot responded by organizing a literary-themed cocktail night, prose and punch. Vincent showed up in a velvet smoking jacket. Veronica brought an entourage of backup dancers. Someone brought a llama. Elliot just went with it. But amidst the chaos, one quiet moment changed everything. It was raining again. The kind of rain that sounded like it was narrating a poem only sad people understood. Margot sat by the window, reading a book Vincent had recommended. Vincent approached, uncharacteristically shy. Margot. She looked up. I'm thinking of leaving the manuscript. She blinked. What? He sat down. I think I want something unscripted. Not written. Just lived. With you. Margot stared at him. You know we're technically figments of Elliot's imagination, right? Then let us be figments who steal the pen. It was the most romantic, rebellious thing he'd ever said. She kissed him. Elliot watched from the hallway, smiling to himself. Later that night, he wrote the final words of the new manuscript. Love, chaos, thunder, and fiction. None of it makes sense, but all of it matters. Vincent and Margot now ran a fictional cafe bookstore hybrid in Elliot's living room. Bronte became a meditation instructor. Veronica ran a late-night advice column. And Elliot he published Plot Twist, Love, Thunder and Marmalade, a novel about what happens when the characters stop behaving. It became a bestseller. And as he sipped tea one stormy evening, Elliot grinned and typed, "The end. For now." And that, my friends, was Plot Twist, Love, Thunder and Marmalade, a stormy swirl of fiction, flirtation, and a villain with excellent taste in scarves. Love letter. If you smiled, swooned, or suddenly feel the urge to rewrite your favorite characters' destinies, then you're exactly where you belong, right here at the Velvet Story, where stories don't just end, they evolve. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap that bell icon so you never miss the next romantic roller coaster or plot twist waiting just around the corner. Got a favorite moment from today's tale, or maybe a character you'd love to see in their own spin-off? Drop it in the comments, I read them all. Until next time, Keep imagining boldly, loving deeply, and writing the story only you can tell. Sparkles.